All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are going to get started right on time today. We have a number of questions to answer. Thank you so much to all of you for submitting them with your registration. My name is Shannon Lilly. I'm the Assistant Director of the Fordham Fund for Family Giving and Engagement. I'm also a proud graduate of the Rose Hill class of 2016. Very happy to be back with another edition of our virtual chats with career services. If you are joining us from anywhere in the Northeast, I hope you are staying warm and you are digging yourselves out from all of this snow. This webinar today, we are going to be focusing on kind of the different career opportunities and career paths that are made available to students of different majors. I know in the invitation, we kind of marketed this towards sophomores and parents of sophomores. Of course, parents of all students are welcome. I know our sophomores are in the process, if they have not yet already, of declaring their major. So if you have a student who's interested in learning more about what internships or jobs or career paths are available to them with that major, you are in the right spot. As always, we are joined by Annette McLaughlin and Holly Young, Annette being our Director of Career Services and Holly as the Senior Associate Director at Lincoln Center. We will be answering all of the questions, or as many as possible of the questions that you all submit during your registration. If you have a question that you would like to have answered live, I ask that you please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll be monitoring that as closely as possible and trying to get to those throughout the presentation as well. As always, I will be sending a follow-up email after the event that will include some key takeaways, as well as a recording of this event today in case you have to hop out at any time. Before we jump into questions, there was an email that was sent out to parents yesterday regarding the virtual spring career fair that is taking place this Thursday. You can see Annette's lovely plug in the background of her screen. If you have any questions about that, feel free to respond to my follow-up email and I'll get those answers for you, but please check your inboxes for an email that was sent out yesterday. So before we jump into questions, Annette, I was wondering if you would be able to kind of go over the virtual career fair, kind of what the virtual career fair is going to be like as opposed to our traditional in-person ones.
Great. Thank you so much, Shannon. Parents, guardians, students, Holly, everybody, welcome. I really love these monthly chats just to get the communication out, because I think so much about the job search and so much about being a student and colleges is all about communication and understanding what is available. So the first thing I do want to put in a shameless plug, and I'm going to be ice skating today. The OSI has an ice skating rink on Keating, and I'm going to literally ice skate around the rink with this on my coat, because we have this is our largest career fair every year. It's our spring career fair. It's for all industries, all majors, all classes. So it's an all industry career fair. This year we have 72 employers that are offering 1,600 one-on-one interview slots. So the way a virtual career fair works is that the employers sign up, obviously, and we can send, Shannon, I can send you the list of employers as well. We also know employers that are, we can segment by seniors who they're hiring, and your students can find that on Handshake as well. Once they register for the career fair, they can look up every employer and what they're hiring for and what years they're looking to hire. But the virtual career fair is very different. We launched into that last March when COVID hit. We had our spring career fair virtual, and then I think this is probably our 7th or 8th virtual career fair. Now, this will be our largest, other than the summer one that we held with 20 other Jesuit colleges and over 200 employers. In the summer, we collaborated with our Jesuit colleges. The difference is the students sign up just like they would register for any career fair. They can then research the employers, and they can sign up for an interview session, a general session. So employers will host a general information session where up to 50 students can log in virtually and find out more about the employer, etc. Then the students actually have to select employers that they want a one-on-one session with. It's much more valuable, and it's basically a 10-minute mini interview. Students and employers are finding the virtual world much more productive than the in-person career fairs. Typically, we would have over 1,000 students and over 500 employers in, I think it's 500, 350, I can't remember what our capacity was, a lot of employers in the ballroom. And students would only have the opportunity to do their 30-second pitch, drop off a resume if the employers were even taking resumes, because many were not taking paper resumes. They were directing the students to their applicant tracking systems to apply online. In the virtual world, the student signs up. As long as they've made their resume public, the employer has the opportunity to download their resume before the career fair so they know something about the students. And then the students log in for their one-on-one interview sessions. As I said, we started the career fair with 1,600 interview slots for this coming Thursday between 12 and 3. We still have 1,000 open slots. 1,000. So our students really need to take advantage. The employers are here because they want to interview, they want to meet. We know that the hiring pauses and freezes are not going to stay forever. They need to be pipelining, they need to be meeting our students, they want our students, and they're calling, my phone is ringing off the hook with the employer saying, please have your students sign up. We don't have enough people registered for interviews. So I just don't want to be in a position 4 months from now where we had, and Holly, every year we have seniors that don't have jobs. And if they miss this opportunity, there's still no guarantees they're going to get a job from this, but they are going to get 10 minutes one-on-one with as many employers as they can fit into their schedule. And you can't underestimate the value of that 10 minutes. Because they'll learn about an employer, they'll learn what to do, not to do, and possibly get an interview, possibly get a job. Obviously we try and track the results of every career fair we have. We have to rely on the students to let us know when they get interviews and when they get employed. Many employers, because of confidentiality, won't even tell us who they actually hired or who they employed. We have to track down the students and ask them to self-report through Handshake, or we'll enter the data into the job as well. So yes, we are going to focus a lot on this. Please encourage your student, to log in, to try it. If they're afraid, we have so many workshops leading up this week. Every day we have a workshop on preparing for a virtual career fair, or interviewing, or everything under the sun. So Holly, do you want to add anything about the virtual world? Oh, one more plug. For those students that don't have a quiet space, or one of the students says, I'm in an unconventional location, and had their camera off one time. I love that, unconventional location. I didn't ask where, but my unconventional location is always my car, especially when my dogs are barking. So, so anyway, we are offering at both campuses, Lincoln Center and Rose Hill. You have to sign up in advance because we have to be COVID compliant and make sure people, everything's cleaned in between. But we do have interview rooms on campus if students don't have a quiet space to interview or to participate in the career fair. Holly, what did I miss?
I was just going to add that this is absolutely, I agree with Annette. This in many ways is an even more, I don't want to use intimate, that might not be the most appropriate word, but it's a better opportunity to connect individually with an employer than in person, believe it or not. It really is individualized attention that the student is getting, and it is valuable networking. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend that your student get involved and test out this virtual space. And even if they feel comfortable, like Annette said, they join a group session, maybe for this first time around, but then, meet with a career advisor, talk to us about that one-on-one engagement, that virtual presence. Annette is the best at staging, which is a fun topic to talk about, which is kind of a little different for students. Professional dress, your background, making sure that the lighting is appropriate, testing your software in advance. Is the technology working? So all of these skills that students will need, because to be honest with you, in my opinion, we're not going back. We're not going backwards. The in-person component will be, of course, part of the recruiting process in the future, but this new remote space will also be a big part of it. So the sooner that your student gets comfortable with this platform and learns how to maximize this opportunity, the better.
Great, thank you both. And I have noticed, before we kind of jump into the questions that were submitted with registration, we have a number coming into the chat right now about this career fair. And just to confirm, this career fair is for all students of all interests, interested in internships this year, over the summer, kind of it's very broad. So please, I encourage your student, I'm sure Annette and Holly will say the same, please encourage your student to get involved with this. Even if they're not actively looking for an internship, at least they can learn a little bit more about what is available to them.
I accidentally erased I was trying to answer and erased a live question. It is this Thursday. Today's Tuesday, right? 2 days away. We have 1,000. I am like freaking out, really, that we have 1,000 opportunities for our students to meet one-on-one with employers. And so please encourage them this Thursday between 12 to 3 p.m. And all classes, if we have anyone who, student graduated in 2020 that still has not landed, they are more than welcome. We have opportunities for alumni, every class. I know our Gabelli students, typically for their freshmen, they have what they call CEIP. They're welcome to come to this career fair. And, so everybody is welcome.
Perfect.
3 to 5 is prime time for practice. So it is 12 to 3. We try and work around everybody's schedule. The athletes are more challenging, but even if in the past, I don't know how flexible they're going to be this year because football is in season, but in the past, I know that when the students asked the coaches, could they leave a little early? Could they come a little late if it was lifting because they had an interview, or there was a career fair, that has happened in the past. So, we encourage them. We can't override what the coaches say. They have more power than I do, but certainly we work very closely with all coaches, with all athletics, and we do our best not to have our major events during practices, but it's unavoidable with the number of teams and the number of student athletes we have.
Mm-hmm. All right, so before jumping into the questions, just to kind of piggyback off that with my own little 2 cents. I was a student athlete myself when I was at Fordham. I was a part of the women's swimming and diving team, and I encourage your students just to communicate with the coaches, because I think for the most part they understand that the career fair and those sorts of resources are very important to your success post-grad. So just keep those lines of communications open, and I think it'll all be okay.
Great. And something, Shannon, oh, sorry, Holly, you go ahead.
Holly, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say there are so many alternatives. I know there was a question, are there alternatives? We can share with Shannon, who can share with the group, some upcoming spring calendar events. We have tons of smaller, more intimate networking opportunities as well. This just happens to be the biggest virtual fair of the season, which is why we're so excited to promote it. But there are tons and tons of opportunities. Info sessions, alumni Q&A. We have such an amazing alumni base that is just, reaching out to us daily. How can I connect with students? Not even for recruiting, sometimes for recruiting, but also just to connect, to give advice, and to, offer some sort of mentorship. So there are tons of other ways to get involved, and I'm sure Annette will launch into this. Handshake is our #1 recommendation for all students. It is a one-stop shop platform. And on that platform, you can see all of our events, all of our programs, all of our career fairs, request a counseling appointment with one of our amazing career advisors, our workshops, our webinars. It really is endless. And also, of course, you can view and apply to jobs and internships. So it really is just a tremendous resource. Parents always ask, can I get in? I want to take a look. If you want, get on there with your student, have them kind of show you around. That's a good opportunity for them to kind of navigate. But truly, there are just, I think, Annette, you've said it before. How many events did we have this year? It was like 600 plus or something?
In the fall alone, between July 1 and December 31st, we had 600 virtual events. 200 were Fordham only events, and the other 400 were employers invited Fordham students and other colleges and universities to also participate. Our employers are taking advantage of the virtual world. They can recruit from multiple schools at one time, and this is the future. We're not going to go back. So they are taking advantage of being able to capitalize on a borderless opportunity to be virtual and to get their word out about how they recruit, who they recruit, why they recruit, what their culture is in these virtual info sessions. At every opportunity, we try and record as many as possible. As long as the employers allow us to record them, we do. So I know in the fall we had 600. Last I ran a report, which was almost 2 weeks ago, we already had 174 events lined up for this spring. There was another question in the chat about If a student has class during that time, will a professor let them out? The student needs to communicate with the professor directly and ask that question. We can't override what a professor says. I will say in the virtual world, if they have their laptop with them, I think it's a lot easier because they don't have to trek across campus. Maybe they can just go to a room next door, pop out for 10 minutes, do their interview and pop back in. I know that can be somewhat disruptive to the professor, but then again, if they don't ask, they won't get. So, and if it's a virtual class, actually, most of the classes are virtual. So would they be able to pop out, do their interview and pop back in virtually? And then it's actually not as disruptive because they're not actually getting up in the middle of the classroom and leaving as well. But that is, the professors are in charge of that area. And we try and work as much as possible with the professors. I know we're overselling this particular spring event just because we had very short turnaround with the students coming back and starting classes. It is very early, but because of move-in being moved 2 weeks forward, we had to capitalize on our employer availability and get the students ready. We have a total of 5 Fordham only career fairs this semester. So there will be 4 more, a STEM career fair, a psychology career fair, global business and real estate, and I'm missing this spring fair, and there's one other. So we have several other opportunities. This is just our largest and broadest one.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you both for all that information. So major takeaway, parents, we encourage your student, no matter how old they are or what they're interested in, to take advantage of this career fair. I'll be sending some more information about it later today in my follow-up. It will also be included in our Office of Career Services newsletter that is going to be sent out tomorrow. And you guys should have received an email yesterday, so you have plenty of opportunities to talk to your student about this to get them involved. All right, we have a number of questions to get to. Some of them are more general about the Office of Career Services and the resources you guys provide, and then some of them are a little bit more major specific. We'll kind of bounce back and forth between the two. First off, I know we talk a lot about different internships that are available or kind of how to secure an internship. In Handshake, are there research or community service opportunities? Can they be found in Handshake? Do they exist?
Yes, so Handshake, we post all opportunities, and thank you. I just want to remind everybody that the 3 ingredients for finding a job are experience, 1, connections, 2, and then the timing. So experience, connections, and timing. The timing is the one that we have the hardest to control. So the sooner they start, the better. Experience includes research, which are posted, fellowships, research, volunteer opportunities, happen on campus, but and that's through CCEL and GO, all the different wonderful mission and ministry, all the wonder things. We do research opportunities. We also have grad schools that recruit at our career fairs. So if your student is thinking about grad school, and we will also do workshops on how to position yourself with your personal statement. Last week, I spoke to the pre-law symposium. So every fall, sorry, we're in spring. I'm lost my time of year. Every spring, Hillary Mantis, our pre-law advisor, does a symposium for the 200 students that are interested in law. And so that's another, we have a host of opportunities that are posted on Handshake. I will assure you that every employer that posts, my team has to actually approve. So it's not a free-for-all. Someone on my team has to go in and make sure that it's a legitimate company, that it has an address, that it has a corporate email. We don't just let anybody put, at AOL on there. They have to be an approved employers in order for them to post, and that's for the safety of your student and our students. And so that is, even though we have 20,000 jobs that are posted, we have to make sure that all of those employers are legitimate. The great thing about the Handshake network too is that every experience that is posted on there also has a rating from Handshake, from our other 800 colleges and universities that use Handshake, that give it a rating that says this is a top employer, this is a legitimate employer, so we can go back and look at those reviews. And any employers or postings that are not get flagged, and then Handshake deals with notifying the employer and taking them down if they're found to be fraudulent. So yes, we have everything posted everything that's experience related that is going to give our students as many opportunities to shine and to figure out what direction they want to go in. We are posting on Handshake, provided they meet our criteria as well.
Great. Thank you. Another question. What should freshmen be doing this summer to help lay the groundwork for potentially securing an internship during their sophomore year? Is it too early? Is it too late?
It's never too early to start. So I would recommend meeting with a counselor and figuring out their interest, doing, and I'll have Holly talk about the inventories that we can do to figure out which path they want to go. You know, sophomore, I know we talked about sophomore year being a big year where students declare their major. We are actually for the first time doing a major career fair with the professors in Fordham College. I believe that's next week. So we actually are using the Handshake platform to do a major career fair or a major fair. We're calling it a major fair. So the students will actually get used to this virtual Handshake platform anyway, as they try to figure out which major to declare for their sophomore year. So what I would say is start now, figuring out the summer. There are valuable summer experiences that your student can engage in. We're still in the middle of COVID. It's not quite over, so we don't know what the in-person versus the remote opportunities are going to be. I will always use my own kids as an example. Both of my children, their freshman year, went back to their high school jobs. So one was a summer camp counselor at a private golf or private country club. And what I'll say about that is he spent 2 years as a camp counselor at a private country club. He ended up applying for and getting $8,000 in college tuition scholarships because he was at that private club for 2 years. So it's a great opportunity. You know, I know we all need college tuition dollars for your students that do these types of summer jobs. And I'll put in a plug for the PGA and if you have a student that's a caddy, the Caddy Scholarship Fund gives away millions and millions of college tuition every year. So that's another one where when you work as a caddy at a golf club, as long as your family's not a member of a private club, you can apply for these college scholarships. There are a lot of ways to find money in hourly jobs. Chipotle gives $5,000 in tuition scholarships if you work 120 hours. So my point is, and my daughter worked at a club doing as a waitress. So she went back after her freshman year of college. She went back to that club and continued to be a server there and gained invaluable customer service experience, connections. There's so many things that happen on a day-to-day basis. There are opportunities for more substantive internships for freshmen too, but you can also just shadow friends and family. That was another thing my son did. He actually set up one-on-one meetings with several different friends that he's an athlete. So he went to his teammates' parents and asked if he could come and shadow them. So he got to shadow someone at Pepsi, someone at CBRE, and just like a day of shadowing. So that was a way for him to learn, did he want to do sales or not? And to, even though he was being a camp counselor, which he loved, he was able to shadow in the professional world to get a greater understanding of what he wanted to do for his next summer.
Holly, is there anything you would like to add to that?
I had muted my screen because Annette knows I love freshmen, so it's my favorite groups. It's like Annette said, it's never too early. I think starting this conversation straight out the gate is a wonderful way to figure out what is available and what is offered at Fordham. There are so many resources. Whenever I host a small group or webinar, I always ask your students to come on camera and tell me a little bit about what they're interested in. And then I always try to customize my presentation and my response to their interests, right? So I could talk about if a student's interested in fashion, did you know about the fashion minor? I'll connect them with the fashion minor advisor who's creating this amazing Fordham fashion community, linking together all these different clubs. We have about 6 different clubs, and we've connected all these students for networking opportunities. I thought it was very clever. She called it front row. I thought that was quite cute. But, or as Annette mentioned, our pre-law advisor, who is just fabulous, who also runs our pre-law society. So depending on what your student's interested in, if they meet with a career advisor, we can tell them firsthand some of the amazing resources, clubs. The Fordham Foundry is Fordham's little incubator. They do some really wonderful things for enterprising students who want to launch their own business. And it's a great way for your student to find their people, and to find their community and like-minded friends and peers. I also encourage your students, so if you ask your student to check out the Office of Student Employment's website, you'll see hundreds of different clubs. And a lot of them have great career tracks. So for example, there's like the Fordham Marketing Association, if your student's interested in that. And on. There's FinTech, you can get very specific with career-related clubs. But I would also, in the spirit of Career Personalis, which, Annette and I both love and we talk about all the time, we really do care for your student. We want to make sure that they find work that is meaningful to them, that they actually enjoy what they do day to day, and it lines up with their passions and their skills and their interests. So I would encourage your student not only to get involved in a club that's related to their field of interest, but maybe a cultural club or the chess club or gaming club or those side interests. And who knows, you might find some really wonderful contacts, and it could be that scenic route that really connects you to a fabulous internship or volunteer opportunity down the road. So I would say, first off, absolutely, I would encourage your student to get familiar with Handshake, to connect with a career advisor, and that way we can really customize our conversation and talk about ways to get involved right here on campus. Once a student starts exploring and getting a sense of like what's out there in the market and different roles that interest them, they can then decide and be really strategic with their time, what clubs I want to join, or maybe what papers I want to write, what topics I want to get involved in. You can build it into your coursework, which is a fabulous way to put it on your resume. So there really are endless ways for your student to feel active and take control of their career path as a freshman. As long as they connect with us early, we can really help point them in those directions.
Great, thank you. Annette, speaking of that major fair you're doing, do you happen to know off the top of your head what the date of that is?
I can look it up, and we can bring it up. I know it's next week. So
sure. We'll touch base and I can include it in my follow-up email.
That sounds great. Thanks.
Fantastic. Just wanted to check.
I know there are a lot of questions about the STEM career fair and the dates, and I don't have my one pager in front of me. Apology, but we can get that to you.
I will send as much as I can in the follow-up email for all these questions that are coming through. Moving to a more major specific question, we have a couple of parents who submit questions on behalf of their students who are chemistry or bio or science majors. They are interested in knowing is does your office help with kind of the pre-health, the pre-med school track, or is there a pre-health advisor for that? And then are there research opportunities on campus that can help the student with their resume leading into med school?
So to answer that question, we have a pre-health advisor and pre-med advisors. So if you're in those majors, they should be working with Dean Ellen Watts and Dean Robert Beer specifically. So the Fordham College Rose Hill has 2 specific faculty members that work directly with all of our pre-med and STEM related students, Dr. Robert Beer and Dr. Ellen Watts. And then, yes, our office also works with the students as well. And we do post research opportunities. Fordham has a relationship. It's called the Bronx Science Consortium. And so we work directly with Einstein Medical, Montefiore, the Bronx Zoo, and the Botanical Gardens. Those are our 4 Bronx Science Consortium partners. And that is an academic relationship that our students should be aware of and get involved in. So there's a research opportunity there. Typically, I want to say, I can't remember if it's in the spring or the fall, but it was hosted at the Bronx Zoo, and it was amazing what our students had done as part of that research opportunity. I'm a little unclear as to what they're doing in the virtual world and how they're continuing that, but just know that Fordham has a strategic relationship that has been together for years with the Bronx Science Consortium. St. Barnabas Hospital also has an amazing volunteer program that they've worked with our students for years. So that's another local hospital that works very closely with our students. As far as STEM related employers, we will have the STEM career fair. Our office has a strategic relationship with, which is called the WestchesterBioInc.org, WestchesterBioInc.org. It is a nonprofit organization. I've been working with them for 5 or 6 years, I think 2005. I get 2015 since they launched. And what that is for those of you who don't know, Westchester, which is just a few miles from the Bronx, Westchester County, is actually well positioned with all the ingredients to become the next Boston, to become the next Raleigh-Durham, the next Princeton in the life sciences. We have an incubator on Westchester Medical Center where startups start in the small lab space, and then they roll out into a lab space of 5,000 feet in Ardsley. And then they're building what's called the North 60, which is a huge complex it's 60 acres north of, I've forgotten which highway or byway, and that, which is only like 20 minutes from Fordham in the Bronx, but that is like the next it. We've got all the ingredients. Westchester County is where Regeneron is based, and huge, they're one of the ones that came up with the antiviral for COVID-19. So it's a huge opportunity for our students, and we provide a lot of interaction with that, research opportunities, educational opportunities, employment opportunities, working with the WestchesterBiotech.org as one of our strategic partners. Medical school, your students really do need to do research. That is one of the things, but Dean Ellen Watts is the best to talk about med school and the med school application process. We do host medical schools and pre-health symposiums for students interested in the fields. We had Yale, New Haven Hospital, we had Harvard, we had like 4 major hospital systems come on campus and do an info session and actually interview students for their medical schools. So that was, and public health as well. So every year we're building and growing our STEM opportunities for our students. And yes, there are tons of resources on campus. Your students should not feel alone. They also, once again, I'll refer to the deans as far as the details. I just know from my own experience and people that I work with, a lot of times people do take a year off between finishing, especially here at Fordham with the core curriculum and all of the demands of that. And then the chemistry and the bio, all the requirements to get through in 4 years is intense. So a lot of our students take a year to do the application process. They work as a scribe. For those of you who don't know scribes, and if you've been to any doctor lately, a lot of times they have someone following with them on an iPad, actually taking notes. And that's where students learn. And America Scribe actually interviews here at Fordham. So that's a great opportunity.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to tune in. I just sent our spring calendar of events to Shannon, who can share with you afterwards. But just for everyone's reference, the STEM Fair is actually on March 18th, and we will have a computer and data science and cybersecurity event on Feb 25th as well, along with a host of other events and opportunities like we mentioned earlier. But I just wanted to chime in with that.
Thank you, Holly. So yes, you guys will all be receiving that in my follow-up email, and you can make note of that on your calendars. Another major specific question, are there specific career advisors for students who are in the fine arts, dance programs and such? Do you think the career fair would be something that BFA students should take advantage of as well?
Holly, I'll let you take that one since you're my Lincoln Center connection to all things performing arts.
Absolutely. I would recommend any advisor, any career counselor from the Lincoln Center campus. So myself, Kayla Loricella is fantastic, Bisu Solomon, Jarmal Zaldivar, Megan McDonald, Beatrice Rice. All of our counselors are amazing. But yes, BFA, we do have our dancers down at LC. And I have to say, our dancers are some of the most impressive students. I always talk about this with Annette in terms of time management, discipline. I have never seen students struggle so much. It is truly incredible. So yes, please recommend that they reach out to any of us as career advisors. In terms of career fairs, absolutely, why not? I would say I also notice with our dancers, they tend to have lots of double majors and double minors. And, I've worked with dancers who are also interested in like environmental science, for example. So students will come to me to, oftentimes what I see with our dancers and also with our theater students is they really rely on their academic departments for networking because our professors are so well networked and there's such a rich community around that, especially specific to auditions and things like that. But if your student wants to explore secondary interests, these career fairs are really wonderful ways to explore those avenues. So I would absolutely recommend that they come check it out.
And for our cultural arts students in general, you should know that Dean Mask and Dean Aricchio have created a new internship program for cultural arts, meaning that they've got a fund so that many of our cultural arts and our nonprofits and don't have the funds for interns. All of those positions will be posted on Handshake for the cultural arts, but we have, the deans have done an amazing job of working with some of our donors to get funding so that our students could be paid for these nonprofit internships. So once again, they'll all be posted on Handshake, but we're developing this cohort of cultural arts organizations that need people to help them, but don't have the funds to hire students. And so that was a need that was identified, and the amazing deans that we have in Fordham College, Lincoln Center, and Fordham College and Rose Hill created a solution.
Yes, great plug there for our two great deans of Lincoln Center and Rose Hill. They've done a lot to help our students. Our next question: do you guys have any helpful tips or pieces of advice for students who are struggling to find work experience due to the COVID-19 pandemic? What can they do to kind of help improve their resume if they're not locking down kind of that stable internship?
So I would recommend Parker Dewey. So they can go to our Fordham Handshake, go to the resource page, look up Parker Dewey. It's a micro internship platform that we have partnered with. So employers post smaller projects that they can get paid for. And so that's another way to gain experience. So it may not be a full internship, but it's experience. Once again, we want to think about experiential education, what they can do. They need to take a look at all of their classes, all of their projects. What are they doing? That's experience as well. What are the opportunities on campus that they can get involved in, either remotely or on person? Tour guides, orientation leaders, FCA. I'll let Holly take the Fordham Career Ambassadors that are part of our office. Student work experience. We have 21 student workers this semester because we're one of the few offices that is physically open. So student employment gave us as many people as they could, and we are so thankful. We would not have been able to get through this year without your students helping us out. They have been tremendous in helping do the outreach for our first destination survey, connecting with our students on multiple opportunities. So Holly, you want to talk about the FCAs because you're the one that can sell it the best.
So Annette knows I always joke about this, that I report to my student workers. They pretty much run my life, and I could not be more grateful. So it's absolutely true. But we do have this amazing program called the Fordham Career Ambassador Program, FCA. And what it is, essentially, it's a leadership role on campus, and students really get out what they put in. And, it can really be whatever they want it to be. I joke that we're career advisors, so it's almost like one of our the hazards of our role. We want your student to get what they want out of the experience. If your student's interested in graphic design, we'll create an opportunity to create flyers for us. That's great. If they're interested in social media, get involved in our social media platform. If they're interested in counseling, help us with our resume reviews. And so we will kind of customize what that looks like for your students so that they get the relevant experience that they hope to get out of it. In addition to that, I also say, we have the Fordham Marketing Association, the fashion clubs that I mentioned earlier, which are really specific and great networking opportunities to different career paths. What's nice about the Career Ambassador program is that we have students from across the board. We do have dancers, we do have medieval studies, we do have finance, we do have history, we have a little bit of everything. And what these students have in common, they're just go-getters, honestly. So it's just a really nice community. And it's just a really fun, I kind of tend to think that we're a fun team. And I think our students enjoy being around us. And, you know, something else that we like to promote, not only do we want them to get the experience that would be most beneficial to their own career path and their own resume development, but we want them to take the lead and we encourage them to do so. So we'll say, what do you want to see at Fordham? And if they say, oh, you know what, I want to see a panel on this topic, we'll support it. We'll make that happen with them. So we work in concert with them. They support our events and promoting our events, because we all know students listen to students. I think you guys think that your students listen to us, but we know students don't listen to us. They listen to students. So they listen to their friends. So, you know, they definitely help us get the word out for our events, but they also help shape the types of events we're offering, because we listen and we kind of let them take the lead and we support them in those efforts. So to me, it's a really great opportunity. So please direct your student to become an FCA, or at least get involved with us to start that conversation with student worker. We would love to have them. I used to always plug this, even when I was sitting on panels. I can't help myself. But I also want to say, in terms, I love this question, you know, what can my student be doing during this strange time in our history? Annette was the first one who said it to me when this first hit. You know, we have built in so much time now that we're not commuting as much, right? We have gained 2 to 3 hours potentially a day. I mean, your students can really do something for themselves with that. You know, I would take advantage of this. Again, Annette said it earlier, this limitless space of opportunity in terms of not only opportunities where your student can maybe have an internship in Seattle from their apartment in the city, but you know, it's professional development. It's going to conferences that are now widely available. You know, you can tune into a professional development that's happening in LA today. Why not? That's fantastic. So access has really, you know, it's infinite. It's really truly amazing. So something else I'm telling all of my students to do, which might be a fun exercise for your student, is I've been talking about aspirational resumes. So taking a look at what's out there, and if there's experience your student doesn't yet have, going out and finding it. You know, if they want to learn InDesign or a new technical skill, do an online workshop if you can, take an intensive. If it is a topic you're interested in, find a conference you can attend. So there are ways that your student can get involved and kind of enhance and sharpen their skill set with this extra time that our students now have every day. So it's kind of, in some ways, there's a silver lining here. You know, your student can take the time to really be reflective, explore what's out there, and then really take steps to build those experiences into their day-to-day life. So I kind of feel like it's a good opportunity for a student to, yeah, get busy, really.
And thank you so much, Holly. I do want to, you know, for all of you parents, I want to acknowledge all of the devastation that's happened during COVID. And I know, you know, we do have this extra time on our hands. How do we use it? And hopefully your student isn't ruminating and thinking about everything that they've lost, whether it's their friends, whether they're not on campus anymore, what are they doing? So as a parent, and Holly mentioned earlier, we are the Career Center for Cura Personalis. We care about the mind, body, and spirit. And so your mental well-being and your emotional and mental well-being is just as important. And that mindfulness is so important. That's why when I first meet with a student, I ask them, what are your interests? Not what are you majoring in, because I can see that on the resume. But what do you do in your free time? And so I encourage, you know, that was what, you know, Holly, we try and make it fun. My middle name actually is Funnette. So, you know, that's my nickname from people, because like life is too short. You got to make it fun. Finding a job search can be drudgery, or you can turn it around and say, hey, I'm going to meet all these great people. I'm going to learn all these new things. What is it that excites me? Who do I connect with? Because you never know. If you just take a chance, you'll figure it out. There are so many creative ways. We have LinkedIn Learning now for free. So we're creating career paths on LinkedIn Learning if your student has extra time. But I also know not everybody wants to be in front of the computer. We're all zoomed out too. So my other suggestion is, if your student likes dogs, can they become a dog walker? Can they tutor younger children? Parents who have young kids just can't help their kids read anymore. You know, look at your neighbor, look at what's immediately around you and figure out some great experience, because your student will find reward in helping a 5-year-old learn to read and feel good about themselves and get the confidence back, and they'll have interaction if that's their thing, or if animals are their thing. And I do always use myself as an example, good or bad. I went back to riding horses, and I work at a barn on the weekends now because that's my true joy. But I would never have been able to do that without COVID. And the barn wouldn't have needed me had it not been for COVID. And so that's where, your student, if that's their thing, like figure out what their interest is and then be creative at finding a way that they're gaining experience and confidence and a positive mental, that a positive mental attitude. It goes a long way. And it's not easy in this environment by any measure.
Very well said, Annette. It is definitely a challenging time, and I think everybody is kind of trying to find their own silver linings as we kind of move through this. But this next question might be a great plug for Rams Helping Rams. Is there an opportunity to find Fordham alumni within your student's area of interest and request an introduction?
So yes, the way that we make connections for all of our seniors, we have launched what's called Rams Helping Rams. So the class of 2020 and the class of 2021 are invited to be part of this program where we connect directly with alumni. They do information sessions, Q&As. Most of the alumni also offer themselves up for advice and mentoring. So that's specifically right now to help the seniors and or recent grads land opportunities. That's a new initiative just launched in October that the alumni and a parent of students came and said, Annette, what are you doing to make sure that every student in a bad environment gets a job? And I'll say bad environment. For entry-level candidates, it's not a bad environment. It is for people with 20 years of experience that are high paying, and for jobs and industries that have been decimated throughout this. But for entry-level candidates, there are lots of opportunities. So that was where Rams Helping Rams. So that's one thing specifically for our upper class students. Secondly, we have People Grove. That's a flash mentoring system that we also just launched. So your student can connect with People Grove, can join People Grove, or it's called Fordham Connect, and research who's in there and connect with them. We have Forever Fordham. Forever Fordham is the alumni directory. It's listed on our resource page on Handshake. You can connect with Forever Fordham, which is our most comprehensive database. It's just, it's a less updated technology, let me put it that way. So it has some limitations, but certainly that. And then we will work with your students. We do a ton of LinkedIn workshops, how to connect with students. We also, on Handshake, there's the student tab where students can go in and put a name of a company, put their major, put whatever their interests are, and search throughout the vast database of Handshake students with the 800 schools and get a list of people to connect with that are, using those search filters. And then the Fordham Mentor Mentee program. For juniors and seniors, we have an actual mentor mentee program that launches in the fall and runs throughout the full semester, where you apply, you get connected with an alum specifically in your major or your interest. There's a whole matching system with that. So that's the formalized mentoring program. In addition, we are constantly, whenever we can, we make as many connections as we can. The alumni that come to recruit, last year we had over 800 alumni on campus recruiting our students. So a lot of those people that are coming to interview are coming because they are Fordham alumni and they see that advantage.
Great. Yeah, I'm an alum myself, and in my line of work now, it's one of the most important things that, Father McShane and other administrators talk about is the network that Fordham has outside of the classroom, and that doesn't just limit us to alumni. But I had some questions come through. I will be following up in my email with all the list of everything Annette just went through as far as connecting with your alumni. So you will be able to read through them. Your student has access to most of it through their Handshake account and such. So just please feel free to take a look through all of those. Moving back to another major specific question. What advice do you have for students who are psychology majors? Do they need a master's degree? What career paths or internships are available to psychology majors?
So my first thing is anything, anything and everything. So that's hard, right? We have a platform called What Can I Do with This Major, also in the resource page. So I recommend all of you look at What Can I Do with This Major, because it will go through all the different career paths that people in this major have done. When you go all the way to the end, it has all the professional associations associated with this major. And then it also has specific job boards for people in this major. So what can I do with this major? Handshake resource page, great platform as a starting point. For psychology majors, I mean, a lot of traditional career paths are HR. If they're going to go into the clinical side, they will need a master's degree. Whether they go straight from undergrad to master's, that's a choice. That is something that I would recommend in the one-on-one counseling sessions. And out of the Lincoln Center campus, Bizu Solomon is our grad student counselor. So she can help with personal statements, grad school. She specifically works with GSAS here at Fordham and GSE. So she's a great resource, and I would direct you to her. Any of my people, every one of my people, my 12 people, are amazing team members that all have a variety of backgrounds. So we are doing that career fair for psychology majors specifically because it is a very large major that can go in so many different directions. So that's something that's happening, I think, in late March that will help with determining what that career path is. Holly, I've forgotten, are you a psychology major?
Sorry about that. I was pulling it up because we do have a psych event that is happening on April 8th.
April 8th, yes.
But prior to that, your student is in good company because I would say 80% of our team has a psych background. I do as well. And like Annette said, it is endless. I mean, when students come to me, one of the first questions I'll ask them is, how can I help you? And they'll say, I'm looking for something related to my major. And I always say, okay, flip that. Let's talk about your career goals, your dream job, and then let's make your major work for you, right? Because really you can sell that 1,000 different ways. I know I have with my psych degree. So yes, absolutely. Have your student meet with us and we can talk to them about all their different options, how their degree can apply to a million different areas, truly. And in addition to that, like Annette said, for grad school, information is power, right? So we can really speak with your student nice and early about what that process looks like, how to choose those grad programs that speak to you, how to build that master doc of different programs, deadlines, requirements, GPA requirements, letters of recommendation. I will always recommend that your students start building those relationships with their professors nice and early, just in case, whether it is for a potential letter of recommendation down the road or just to meet someone who really is immersed in the richness of their field. Something one of my favorite people at Fordham has always said, who is the dean of students for the Gabelli School of Business at Lincoln Center. If any of you know Father Vin, he's like my favorite. But side note, he always says, for professors, this is oftentimes their second job. Really, their first job is they're immersed in their field, their research, and they're contributing to the intellectual community. So for your student to get engaged with their professors, go to their office hours to just have higher level conversations about where this career path could lead is hugely beneficial. So that relationship building can really start here at Fordham with us. It could be career services, it could be other, departments and student affairs, like what we've been talking about, the Office of Student Involvement. It could be faculty, it could be the academic community. So really here at Fordham, there's just so many opportunities and I always bring it back to Annette, because I feel like it really just does come down to connections and experiences. That's what we're here to help, your students really uncover. It's at their fingertips, really.
I keep trying to answer things live and messing up. So someone asked about the Jesuit colleges. We have what's called reciprocity with the 25, 27 Jesuit colleges across the country. So if your student is interested in connecting with, say you're out in Chicago or LA or a different part of the country and you want to connect with the local Jesuit college, we can make that introduction. Each college has, and we do the same for all of our Jesuit partners. So we work together to support our students across the Jesuit network. And Shannon will add that reciprocity information in too. And then I also want to answer the Gabelli question, because Gabelli School of Business, and I know I put in the plug for Dean Mass and Dean Aricchio, but I also have to put in a plug for Dean Rapaccioli. She has just created a winternship. So for any of you that are accounting or you have early accounting students, we now are creating winternships, and you have to work with your academic department, and there's a whole process, but we've now just opened the door for winternships with some of the accounting firms here in the New York area, which is quite amazing. So that just launched this semester, and we're now recruiting for next year's winternship class. So, and also for Gabelli students, there is Personal and Professional Development Center. That's our colleagues, and they specifically specialize in business related, and they're done by industry, because if you are going into investment banking and or accounting, there are very specific things you need to know. Although my whole team has a great amount of knowledge and we can also direct you, but as a Gabelli student, you have these specific resources because it is so complicated and so many different pathways within business. So that's a resource that's available. And Dean Rapaccioli's done an amazing job of supporting the students along those lines.
Yes, and I will include the information for PPD in my follow-up email as well. So if you are the parent of a Gabelli student, that will be a little bit more Gabelli specific. To answer a question that just came through, the follow-up email that I will be sending, as long as you are on this call and you registered for the event, which you did since you're here, you will be receiving the follow-up email from me. And if you do not, please respond to the invitation email that you used to register, and I will make sure you receive the follow-up email. We are getting close to the end. I can't believe how quick this hour has gone. But I will just ask one more question. In your professional experience, Holly and Annette, do you feel like that a student should have a minimum or a maximum number of internships throughout college before they graduate?
I could go first, Annette, or
Go ahead first. Yeah.
I was going to say no. It really is so specific to your student and their whole 360. It really comes back to your personality. Some students will ask me these types of questions where they'll say, should I stay at one internship for the whole year and really try to move up and network, within the same company? Or should I have 2 internships or more than one and try out different environments? And to me, I say both are great. Both are valuable, so I would rather speak to them about those specifics and really get a sense of, well, these are the advantages of staying in one place and moving your way up. And here are the advantages of trying out different settings and different procedures and policies and doubling your network. And I would talk it out with them and talk about all the advantages, and then your student can make an informed decision. But to me, there's no wrong way. It's really just about adding value and making sure that your student's getting something from it. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I was going to give the lawyer answer. It depends, which, it depends. And just as Holly said, everyone is an individual. Your student is an individual. Please don't pressure them so much with the word internship. It's become toxic in many situations. Talk about experience. What are you gaining? Our professors in the classroom give our students real experience with their projects, and it's all how your student packages it. And that's what Holly and I are great at. When we talk to your student, we can help them package everything that they've done. I cannot tell you how many times a student comes in, they have a full page of all their summer summer camp counseling, and they come in to say, I haven't done anything. And I'm like, whoa. You're a leader here. You're this there. You volunteered here. You've worked since you were 14. Stop saying you haven't done anything because you don't have this word internship on your resume. That is old school. That's traditional thinking and old school. The value of different experiences is that you figure out what you don't want to do. And let's say your student doesn't get an internship, or they're, not in a position to do the internship. Make the best of that experience and package it. Every student here that graduate has the 8 core competencies that every employer looks for just by going through the core curriculum. So they're already graduating with the basics ingredients that they need. And then it's all how you package it. And the more we push this word internship down on people, the less they feel good about themselves as a person and as a potential employee. And so you just have to look at the whole package, and what works for your student doesn't work for the person next to them. So we take everything that they learn, the 360-degree view, we pull it all together, and we figure out a pathway forward.
Very well put, both of you. I know we had a number of questions that we were unfortunately unable to get to today. So if you feel like your question was not answered, please feel free to respond to the follow-up email that I will send later, and I will work on getting that answer for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to Annette and Holly again for all of their help. We will be having another one of these virtual chats with Career Services taking place on March 9th. Stay tuned for an invitation coming via your email in the coming weeks. Same thing, you'll register, submit a question, and we will see you here in March. In my follow-up email, I will include information on the career fair that's taking place on Thursday. I hope if you take away anything, it is how important that career fair is to your student. And then I will also remind you that our Office of Career Services newsletter is going to be sent out tomorrow, which will also include information on the career fair, as well as some things that are going on in their office that we didn't get to touch on today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much again to Annette and Holly, and I will see you all again in March.
Thank you,
Bye,
Shannon.
everybody.
Thank you, Holly. Bye, everybody.